Oh, hells yeah.
Uh,
You know it's got to be happy hour because it's 4 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock East Coast, probably middle of the day in Hawaii. I don't know. Hey, man, what's the best thing that happened to you, Justin? Ever?
Oh man. I don't know. Probably. I mean, I guess I have to say meeting my wife, right? Or else, like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah. Safe
is
bet.
that legally? Is that legally? That's legally what I have to say. You know, I mean, that would certainly rank up there. I mean, that weekend was really that whole first DragonCon. It's the first DragonCon. I meet my wife. We have our first live show ever. You know, that was a. I mean, that might be the best thing that ever happened to me. If I could lump it all in together, career and Ashley and everything, like that one weekend at DragonCon was that was it. And meeting LeVar Burton and him being cool as shit.
He was cool as
Oh,
shit.
yeah.
And he was cool as shit specifically because he was afraid we were trying to hand him an energy drink. And he was so relieved to find out that it was a natty
Like, he was
natty
so
light.
cool that I feel like I could, if I just saw him on the street, I would just be like, "What's up, man? How you doing?" Like, I would treat him like a friend because of how cool the one interaction was. And they were friendly people. They were very nice people. Like, but nobody like.
You
LeVar had a
realize
vibe.
all
LeVar
I
had a
want to
real
do
vibe.
now is ask you who the not cool people are.
That'd be negative.
We know, haven't we talked about that? We talked. I mean,
We
like,
talk about those
there was only
guys.
one not cool person. Like,
Yeah.
everybody else was varying degrees of either cool or odd, like the like fucking Space Ghost was. But he was such a Looney Tune that it was like enjoyable. No, there's only one person, but I mean, I don't know. We've danced around it.
It's fine.
Yeah. No,
Ain't no money in that.
I'm not gonna take the L on that one.
Yeah.
But I might take the V.
I'm going to walk right past that one. Holy cow.
What about you, Brian?
Will I
Yeah.
take the V?
No.
No.
When was
What's the best thing that ever happened to
thing
you?
That happened to you.
Oh, it was definitely the day Justin met his wife at DragonCon. Are you kidding me? It was the best day. So good.
Such a good day.
Man, really messes me up to think how close to the age Bonnie and I were that Penny is. Like, it really breaks my brain. I really have a hard time comprehending it or thinking anything good about it. I question our own life decisions because there's no way anybody should make any life decisions at the age of 19. And yet, we pick colleges, like Penny's looking at colleges. Like, yeah, you don't want to hear old man Brian talking about this stuff because you won't like what he has to say.
Aw.
Wait, are you talking to each other? Like, is this?
I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
I mean, I just know that there's nothing but trouble on everything I want to say past this moment, which is I now have a child who is about to turn 17, and I don't trust her to make life decisions. And yet I remember being that age and making literal life decisions, including falling in love with and marrying my wife and all those things. It's all closer than I'd like. That's all I'm saying.
I trust her. I trust her more than I trust you at that age. She's much wiser.
Yes.
I mean, does it give you perspective on how your parents must have felt watching you make decisions?
Man, I'll tell you what.
They were just so happy I came along.
Let me take this one off your hands.
No.
They're like, normally we'd haggle, but please.
There was definitely some moment in our courtship that Bonnie let it drop that, hey, just so you know, not that we're a thing, not that we're going to keep being a thing, not that we're going to end up together and married and living the rest of our lives together, but let's say if we were, my father would fully expect that this relationship would begin with a phone call in which you asked permission for my hand in marriage. Anyway, that's me. Peace out. I'm going back to another city 45 minutes away that I live in. Bye. It's me, your girl, Bonnie. And that was very hard. And only now am I realizing that it was hard not just for me. I'm going to bet it was not fun for your dad to get that phone call in which that 22-year-old
Yeah, that piece of shit.
said,
They
hey,
liked you a lot.
I want to bone your daughter for life and make babies with her. Am I right?
No, this is my mom was sold on Brian because the first time he came down to visit, he noticed that the dog's water was out, so he picked it up. He goes, "Oh, it looks like you need some water."
I didn't even see that.
Well, that's
She
the way
noticed.
she says it.
She noticed.
Brian
So
was like,
she
"Fuck you,
verbalizes
bitch."
it.
I'm gonna water this bitch.
Yeah, I don't know. But she noticed he put some water down for their dog, and she's like, "He's a keeper."
Well, wait, hold on. So wait, when in the courtship did you make that known, Bonnie, that you would want Brian to call your dad to ask your hand in marriage, and how long between then and like how long were you guys dating before that was even set?
I don't even remember that at all.
Let me
that
do my
doesn't
best
sound
to-
like me at
Okay,
all.
so we met.
See, this is a whole fabrication by Brian.
Oh yeah, no.
No,
So
I-
me,
I'm sure it
purely
was
on my
fake.
own, Brian Brushwood just had the thought, the gentleman. I suddenly turned into Matt Berry. It's like, back in my day, what we would do is we would ask the father's permission before we bedded his bride's daughter.
What?
Yeah, I
His
don't know.
bride's daughter? No.
It-
I think in my Bonnie way of tying untieable things together.
Yes.
I'm sure there was a topic at hand like, "Oh, let's go to the magic ring."
To the magic
meeting.
ring. Yeah.
The magic
As
ring
you remember,
meeting or
the
whatever.
magic ring was a spaghetti restaurant that
Yes.
only sold spaghetti that was
All
whole.
connected, all
Right.
loops, yeah,
Right.
loops only,
Right.
I don't
no
know.
strands. We
Yes.
never break the ring. That was their slogan.
That's right. That's right.
So if something's
It
on
was
my
also themed off of the Japanese horror movie, The Ring.
the ring, and that's what somebody would crawl out of a well
That's
I
right.
was
and
so
and go
pissed.
backwards
And then offer
sing
you-
happy. Then
Yes.
sing happy birthday if it was your birthday.
But because they were singing it backwards, it didn't violate copyright. Back when that one
Exactly.
family owned the copyrights. Yeah.
Copyright.
I do remember all this now.
Well, so I'm saying that if the topic of a ring happened to be on the radio or whatever,
On the
then-
radio.
sure.
Hey, welcome. What's up? It's me, the radio. Coming up next, we're going to talk about rings. What are your thoughts? Hit us up at 1-877
Welcome back.
ring.
Welcome back to Larry and the Ring.
Then I would say, "Oh, by the way, interesting fact. I don't know how this got in my mind, but
Oh my God! Your willful like efforts to forget that you ever said any of these words, reconciled with the fact that you definitely know that you said some version of these words
oh,
is delightful.
I'm sure.
Keep going. Keep
I'm
going.
just kidding. I mean, I'm sure. I tend to something's on my mind. Hear something.
So you
one
don't
word
remember
will
this,
get
but
me off on
Brian,
it.
Brian, you remember it as if much clearer, I assume.
You know what? Doesn't matter the way I remember it. What matters is the way Bonnie remembers it. The way Bonnie remembers it is that she never brought it up, and I spontaneously said to her, "Hey, girl, I don't know if this is the way you are or not, but I always felt like if a man ever was going to ask for a girl's hand in marriage, to love, to stay with together, to make babies, possibly a number of podcast franchises, we'll get to that later. It seems to me like the first step should always be to call that woman's father and ask permission. And then Bonnie said,
Oh, that reminds me.
Okay, Mark, how far into to my initial question? How far into the
been
relationship does that happen?
Years,
God,
right?
years might be generous. I think we were dating less than a year. We moved kind of fast. I met you shortly before I turned 20. You figured out which bars would look the other way and let me get in before I was 21.
Such a bad person.
Badass. Then I remember thinking, 22, that's not too early to ask to get married, is it? And then I did. And I'm like, no, definitely not too early, because we didn't get married until 23, which is a super old age.
I am really glad that we did, because you're a jackass, a professional jackass. And I was part of that jackassery the whole way. So, like, I have to take ownership for it, too. Like, I'm not saying that your decisions were my decisions, but at any point I could have jumped off and I didn't. So here we are. It is partially my fault. So
Okay, in number of months,
yeah.
distance from me touching your boob
Oh, this
to
is
you saying,
inappropriate.
I do agree to marry you forever.
Oh no. I mean, that's the thing in my family, Brian. You touch a boob, you're married.
That's it. Yeah, you don't
It happened
understand border
immediately.
law. Brian, down at the border, yeah. It's fucking one touch, fucking one ring. That's it.
One
It's-
touch, one ring. I think it was less than 2 years.
Yeah, probably.
I touched
You know
it was
what?
1 year per boob. I touched one boob, and then a year later you let me touch the other boob, and then a year later I said, let these be the only boobs I touch forever and ever.
Yeah, probably. Now here's
But I called your
something-
dad first. That's the
Yeah.
important part.
Can I touch the boobs?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, there is. I was reading up on relationship stuff, like, and apparently 2 years is pretty essential, because then all the
Well, one for each.
one for each boob, because then if you're not moving forward in the relationship in some kind of committed style, then it starts to just kind of because
I always
Oh.
I always thought that 3 years is when you start living on borrowed time.
yeah.
If you're at 3 years, like every day you are past that, it's like you gotta have a reason. It's gotta be like, well, we're studying, or we're both in school, or we're doing a thing.
Like-
There's
like-
gotta
like,
be
in-
like
in
a
other
thing
words-
there, because like you are on borrowed time past. Like you past year 3, you have to have at least talked about it.
Well,
Like there has to be a reasoning or an understanding or a communication.
Well, and
Like-
to put it in perspective, like, think of how many stories pop in your mind that begin with, well, first we dated, and then we had sex for a long time, and then we hung out, and then we lived together, and it was around year 16 or 17 that I thought, let me pop that question. And then
I mean,
the
I know-
question is popped, and then it's like, and then we started making babies like crazy, and that's why I'm super successful. It's me, Matt Berry. I'm back again. I'm sorry. I can't stop doing this voice. Nadja, she causes me to pretend to not be me. I can't help it.
Oh,
I like
Brian.
that you're Matt Perry, but you're also the character of Laszlo. Like you're not just Matt Perry.
It's
the
difficult
actor.
to see for the one from the other. I'll be honest. Just asked Gizmo.
What is? I don't know who you're talking about. Matt Berry.
He's the British vampire on What We Do in
The
the
actor
Oh.
Yeah,
from
the
What We Do in
actor,
the Shadows, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I got it.
But yeah, I mean, I think that was always the thing in relationships, as people were always dating and stuff in their 20s in my world. That was always the line. It's like 3 years. And like, at that point, just know, and this is usually me talking to guy friends, like, this is where you're getting into like patience is running out. There needs to be some kind of understanding of like where things are headed.
The timeline is different at different decades, right? Like you could be on again, off again for almost a decade if you start at 13 and start 15, start to figure out 25, whatever. That decade, you could take a decade, right? But if you start at 25, yeah, by the time you're at 35, what are you?
I don't think that you're making it 10 years if you start at 25. That, although to be totally honest, like I've known friends that like they moved in together literally right out of college. They like were dating in college, they broke up, and then they got back together right at the end of college and moved in with each other, and they've lived together since then. And they literally just got married like 2 years ago. But they've lived together. Like the only other person that they've lived with was me when we moved all together out of college. But like, other than that, that was like, they've just been a couple living together, and they literally just got married 2 years ago. In fact, one time they were watching Breaking Bad, and there was the whole conversation about the wife not being able to testify against the husband. And he was like, oh, like, so we like that would happen with us. And she was like, no, you have to be married for that to be the case.
Yeah.
It's like, I would rat your ass out. And he's like, oh. And then I guess a couple years later, they got married. So maybe what I'm trying to tell you is my friend Matt is making meth. Like, maybe I just realized that.
Maybe.
I suppose where I'm headed towards, never mind. Dangerous territory. Everything is dangerous.
Yeah. I don't know.
Unlike all that racial talk we did all week.
Yeah. No.
Andrew Heaton is like a super big fan of yours, Justin. You know this, right?
I mean, a mutual admiration society. That's what I like to think me and Heaton have, because I think the world of that man. He's fucking amazing.
I think there's an imbalance where he's
fucking
like
challenging me. You challenging me? I fucking love Andrew Heaton. You got to see the Andrew Heaton fan fiction that I write. Like that man is a god. He's a literal horse god. He fucking walks. He clomps through fucking hollowed grounds is what his hooves land on every single inch.
He would really like to see you on television, on CNN, as a panelist on Real Time with Bill Maher. And he asked me the question, why are you not? And I did not have a good answer. And then he follows up by saying, because you realize what his strengths are, and I will spare you the humiliation of the very long list of your strengths.
No, go on. This whole thing.
But in all seriousness, you have a talent for contextualizing, of speaking in sound bites, of understanding the real game that's being played on a bigger level, and of being able to do all of that while clearly loving and being beloved by both sides. And personally, I am embarrassed that I'm bringing this up on the air right now, because I didn't have a good answer for Andrew at the time. Like, the best I was able to guess is maybe Justin's not horrifically ambitious. Because you have all those skills. Why are you not doing all those things?
How do you do it? Like, honestly, there's no reason. Like, here is a real thing about me, and I don't even know if I've really talked about this. I am probably, if I wanted to psychoanalyze myself, there are elements of my personality that are rejection shy. And so there are elements for which I am very happy to build my own thing. And I am very happy when I get recognition for building my own thing. But I very often put things off. I very often remember all of my rejections far more than I remember all of my acceptances. And so like television punditry, for example, is really only a thing that I'd probably be focused on in the last 3 years, 4 years. And even then it's not something where I would think like, okay, so now is the next step that I go looking for a television agent? Like, should I be writing a book and then I get a thing? Or do I pitch myself? Is there an email for which I send like, hey, I'm a good person on television, put me on the TV? Like, I have not looked into that. Probably I would, if I were psychoanalyzing myself, because I am afraid that that is another rejection. And meanwhile, the cocoon that I've made myself does continue to get bigger and more lucrative. And I guess in my head, any element of like, that's something I should do falls into the podcast will just get bigger and these opportunities will come to me, which to a certain extent, some of them have.
That's
but
pretty
certainly not on the
legit.
level, not on the level that if I were very ambitious to get I probably would have taken some of those steps, or at least would have looked into it more than I have.
But also, I feel like you have this loyalty in your makeup that part of that you put that all into your audience, because there are people that have brought you here, and you turn everything back to serve them. And I think the only way it would make sense for you to take that risk is if you realize that your presence in these different areas would be serving your community through the legitimacy of your comments and legitimize your platform.
I mean, I know that there's only so many there's nobody that flips a switch for you, right? Like, no matter what, even if I was TV a lot, I know what that life is. I know what that pundit life is without a lot else going on, and it's a little desperate, and you don't say everything that you mean, and that's thought of as often like a side gig to another thing. You either do consulting, or you're writing, or you're doing other stuff. For me, like, yeah, if I were on television, it would literally just be an advertisement for the other stuff that I do, which I think would be worthwhile. But again, I mean, if we want the most honest answer I could give you, is because I am a scared man who grew from a scared boy when it came to rejection.
Aww.
So, which is close, although less charitable than what my emotional response was, and what I told Andrew was you're 100% right. Justin would slay. He would fucking be great on any of those pundit shows. He would have hot takes that are exactly on point, that are insightful, that would transform the way people see the world. He would mix them with pop culture references that would resonate. He would do it in such a way that both sides would agree. The only reason it's not happened, and this is where I'm speculating, is because in a perfect version of this story, someone who is not Justin calls him on the phone and says, hey, do you want to be on the show? And also, Justin can't know that anyone called on his behalf. He has to believe that they just randomly called him.
Oh, no. I would take 100% help. If somebody was like, hey, would you mind if I reached out to these people? I would be like, that'd be fantastic and great. If anything, because I don't have any like, oh, it has to be a certain thing. Like, like only if they recognize my talent, like then is the true way that I ascend. Like it's not necessarily that for me. It's more the act of like, this is something that I've had to get over, like applying for fucking press credentials for the Republican National Convention. Like, or even when I was on the road, like I didn't know that what everybody else in the press does is contact the campaigns and say, hey, by the way, we're going to send the following people to the following states. So print out their names on press passes and have them ready for them. All the regular for their press passes. I just fucking flew myself to these places and roll up and just say, hey, I'm me. I'm covering shit. And they're like, cool, here's a press pass. And I'd walk there. Most of that was because I just don't know. I just didn't know. I've never been in that television world. I would know how to pitch a column. I would know how to sell. If I were more in writing, if I were still more in writing than in effectively where I am now, a trade that I have spent much of my life demeaning for being not actual news or news flavored entertainment. Like, then I would probably, if I'd spent more time in those fields, I'd probably know more about pitching or where to go or who to talk to. Because I know that for writing, but all of that is to say, I have not, like, that's the reason why in my head, why have I not done that? Because I haven't looked at how to do it. I literally don't know how to do it. If you said go do it, the first thing I would have to go do is look it up or try to call people and ask that. And then from there, why haven't I done that? Because I'm scared that if I did, I would invest time and emotion and I would get rejected and I'd feel sad.
So I guess that's the question is like, for me, the moment I quit my day job, it was like do or die. The more notches on the belt I get of TV appearances, the greater my cachet in the college market or whatever. It's like this is quite literally the only ladder of success I'll ever experience is fuck you, I've done this, and that. Therefore, let me also do your college show. Do you feel that same hunger of conquering? Like, I did this show, I did that show, I did this show, I did the other thing?
Me and you have fundamental differences in how much worth we put on television.
Well, and this is, and if not, Merrill Barr looks like he wants to join us. Should I open this up to him or?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Merrill Barr, just jump in on the secret link that you have.
I'm on the Opal.
Okay. All right. You're already on. All right. Great.
All right.
So
answer the. I have thoughts on this. I have actual thoughts on this.
Okay. Who would have thought? Merrill Barr has thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. Who took the under on that one?
Answer the Skype. Answer the Skype. Because I want to talk to Jerry directly.
Okay. I'm afraid it'll drop him. We'll see what happens.
It'll drop.
Yeah,
him.
no, it'll drop.
Merrill, just go.
I'm learning. Go. Keep going.
All right. Okay. Here's the deal. Justin will attest to this.
It definitely. Okay. Merrill, mute yourself on Skype.
All right. Hold on.
Yeah, we got this.
I'll talk. While this is loading, I'll talk to Jerry directly.
And by the way,
no, you're echoing. So yeah, you need to mute.
Yeah, mute yourself.
Yes, on Skype. You have to mute yourself on Skype.
Got it.
Because we're already hearing you on the other thing. But here is where Justin, here's what if we're all going to psychoanalyze Justin, here's what I believe. I believe Justin, in his heart of hearts, knows that he has talent and skill and that it's unique and precious and powerful. I think that he is so well balanced that he doesn't need to lean on a bunch of trophies to know that he has value. And as a result, it's hard for him to want to do the ambitious, horrifying phone call after phone call, chasing up the ladder that most people have to do in order to achieve the success that Merrill and me and Bonnie knows that he deserves.
Justin will attack. I think part of it is also what we are asking of Justin is also very difficult, right? And it's hard to want to take that leap knowing its difficulty. And Justin will attest this. When Race the Dead came out, my first thought was, this needs to be a TV show right now. And I sent that fucking show to a shitload of showrunners. And I was like, and I sent it, I'm only name names, but they were people you've heard of. And I was like, guys, everyone needs to be listening to the show. This is an adaptable show. I know the guys who should be adapting it. And when I heard that thing, I was like, Jerry needs a bigger platform. I need his work to be recognized by more people. And if I have to be the one to help facilitate it, fine, because it needs to be out there. And when I'm hearing is that I don't think it's necessarily that Jerry is scared of rejection as much as you're asking him to do a difficult thing. And it's hard to get people who have not thought about doing the difficult thing, like for example, adapting your own podcast into a television show, to jump on board the difficult thing when Justin, you already do a difficult thing with your live broadcasting career in the PX3 podcast. Those are difficult enough. To add a plate to that, I think is definitely worth bringing into.
Well, let me also say, in general, I've always been happy to talk to, I've been always happy to talk to our audience when it comes to the politics stuff. But until I stopped doing things live and started recording everything and then did Raise the Dead, was really the first time that I felt like I was creating content that I was reasonably sure that strangers would appreciate. Not just our fans and not just, I think I was still trying to find my voice, to be honest with you. Like that there was the version of PX3 that existed really through 2018 was very much, Justin from Night Attack talking about politics and doing Night Attack style. It was Night Attack style humor, it was Night Attack style bits. Like these were all things that were very much of that energy. And I don't think that the show really found its own voice to a point where it's elevated. Like, on Wednesday, I did a whole show on police brutality. And I don't think that the other version of me would have done that. I don't think it could have done that. I don't think that it would have been, even if I did the show that I did, let's say I still have that talent, right? I don't think that it would have fit in with that language, the language of that show. So part of it is me just also creating stuff that making a voice that I think would be good on television, because this is something that might be different between me and you, Brian, is you went out and did fucking everything you possibly could, knowing that it was only while you were doing these things that you could learn to be good at it.
Right.
Like that it didn't matter how much you thought about it, didn't matter how much you practiced.
And that there was no safety net. Like also it's like at any given moment, Bonnie could just say, yeah, man, it's been a year. Like the entire time I was living on borrowed time.
Yeah. Whereas my pathway to making, my own living was a far more gradual one. It involved certainly a hit the lotto kind of moment of all of a sudden Patreon being a thing that made money. So once I had the freedom, it wasn't like my first thought was, oh shit, how do I maximize it? It was like, hey, freedom, fucking look at that. All right.
That mindset reminds me a lot of, so I'm friends with, like, for example, a guy named Hart Hansen. Hart Hansen created the show Bones, right? Yeah. And Bones was the biggest police procedural success Fox ever had. And it made him so much money that when the show was over, he basically was free to have his own life, right? Before that point, he was under overall deals and he was working at the behest of the studio. After Bones, he had made so much money and created so much success that he could basically go, I don't need another overall deal to keep making money, because the upside to overall deals in television is you are always getting a salary. The downside is you are working for the behest of the big corporation and you do whatever they tell you to do. When you are not, well, without the overall deal, you have ultimate freedom, but your money's on the line. But when you've created a giant syndicated hit that ran 200 episodes, your name's on every episode of, you're in the clear. So I think that's very similar to where you are on a smaller scale. You have found your niche. Your paycheck seems to be relatively secure, as you like to joke about. You have the safest job in media. The Patreon keeps you fed. And you also are in a loving relationship with someone else who is working full time. So
and is on board with the unusual lifestyle as a creative that you've selected, which, by the way, that alone, congratulations.
Yeah.
You already won the lottery.
Correct.
Also, you won the stability lottery. And so I understand if you say, it's hard for me to want to put it all on the line.
your back is not like I want to be a TV writer, right? And
Yeah.
my back is against the wall because I carry a shit ton of debt and I'm constantly playing the game of how much longer can I climb this hill without getting, how much longer can I climb this hill before getting to the top, right? I feel like every day is another day of, well, fuck, that's another day where the almost $100,000 of various debt did not get paid back. Jury is for, I don't know what your financial situation is like. I assume you don't carry that much debt. You're basically free, right? So, you're not against the wall to adapt Raise the Dead or get yourself on CNN or MSNBC or Fox or whatever news program have you. But I will say that for the 3 other people in this square right now, we know that not only can you do it, you should do it, and you are denying the world something amazing by not doing it.
Yeah, I feel
There's-
that.
I
don't think
appreciate
Disagree. Disagree.
You don't?
Disagree?
No. This dude owes nobody nothing. That's
Okay.
that's part of our
I'm not saying
friendship
he
and
owes it.
agreement. Nobody owes
No,
nothing.
I get that,
Well-
but I do feel like there is a bigger audience out there that needs a Justin in their life, and it would be great to reach those people because they're tired of all the BS that's on television, network
all the
television.
bullshit.
All the bullshit, and that's why you created the shows that you did, is say, hey, I have a different perspective, but also I'm a journalist. And I think the biggest thing is it's not just that you're an entertainer, you're a journalist. And so putting the time into research, putting the time into understanding the concepts that are affecting everything is something you don't get on social media. You don't get that on the internet a whole lot. And so the fact that you're bringing some of those important things from the past into our present, and I would say even more relevant way of reaching people through social media. In fact, instead of maybe even reaching people on television, what if you had a TikTok that just had some just get those points across?
I mean,
Quick bite
that's one of
politics.
those things where it's like, that's like what, I've thought about TikTok and stuff. It's like, all right, at this point, it's like, I'm in the phase where I'm cutting things out
Yeah.
so I can focus on what I'm good at and I can get better at it, because the more I've focused on it, the better
Yeah.
it's been. One point when it comes to television, and this is certainly not about the punditry game, because I don't really, again, I do not know that game. I could probably stand to have a conversation with Heaton about just the general world of how people get booked on stuff.
But
let me just
before you
finish my
explain,
point.
let me just say, I wish you could see how amazed Heaton is by you. Like that moment where he's like, Justin is so good. Yeah, I know. He's really like, no. You don't understand. Justin is so good. Like if you could have felt the belief that I felt from Heaton in that moment, you would understand why I've made this the entire topic of this hour-long conversation.
I gotta sit down
and I
and have a conversation
apologize.
with Heaton, man, because I'm on that Heaton train. Like I feel that exact. Like you can't have not listened. PX3 is PX3, and if you listen to it from the beginning, like I did not do. I came in towards the end of last year for the first time, and after Raise the Dead. But I heard Raise the Dead was like the first like polished jury thing I heard. Before that was All Night Attack, and. Hearing Raise
Which
the Dead,
was also very polished, I just say, to a fine sheen.
Before we
if
get too
Raise the
far
Dead-
off.
All right, no, Justin has the floor. Go.
Yeah. Sorry, Meryl. As much as this is my favorite episode of Happy Hour, I'm loving this new format.
We are not going to let you put yourself down. We are not here for that. We are
I'm not
jury
putting
stands.
myself down. I'm not putting myself down. There is something that is part of this, which is I have 2 people that I consider to be peers and older brothers, and they are Andrew and Brian. They have both in their own and very distinct ways given me advice, given me counsel, given me tough love when I've needed it. We have created, they're my creative collaborators, and I have tried to, help them in their lives. I watched both of them get fucking wrecked by television.
Yeah.
And
fucking
not financially for our careers, they have been
was
good.
important.
But if I could restate what you're saying, you watched us emotionally enter into an arena as emotionally stable, normal human beings, and you watched us emerged, hollowed out husks, confused by what's even real.
And then both get to the summit. Maybe not the top of the success ladder on television, but do the impossible. Get shows on television where you are the title star and you are the face on the poster, and you get that moment in the sun, and boy did it burn fucking hot, and then boy was it over fucking fast. And boy, at the end of it, like, was, from my perspective as somebody watching the people that I care about the most, did it not fucking feel worth it? Want to know what did feel worth it? Each of the empires that they built by themselves,
the silos
within their own capabilities, where bit by bit, brick by brick, platform by platform, there were platforms to ascend to. There were always bigger vines to swing on that would bring people into bigger elements. But at the end of that was a slow burn for which, by the end of it, the successes were warm and fucking like resonant in a way that that television game is something that Brian knows how cynical I am about it. And
right.
Beyond that, tactically, here's one thing I do know is that the way that you don't get treated like total abject garbage is when you come in with momentum or a thing. And so my goal has and always will be, number one, have the big resonant success, but also if you're fucking with a larger entity like that, come with the thing. Be the guy who is the guy before you even enter into that phase.
Here's the part, and I'm going to hand everything over to Meryl shortly. Just give me 30 seconds here. Here's the part I will never know, and maybe Andrew has an answer for this, but I don't. I can't tell you how much is chicken and how much is egg of everything that's happened in the last 5 years. I can't say how much of it was being the plucky young upstart with an independent production, working my way to get to television, and I can't tell how much of everything that has happened in the last 5 years really owes its legitimacy to the fact that I had a television show. And knowing that, here's what I know. I know that both Andrew and I are both on the other side of that engagement. And however we got there, however painful it was for either of us, I know that both of us have very powerful verticals and very powerful presences on the other side of it. I will never be able to tell you whether it was the chicken or the egg that caused it. So, Meryl, but I do have a strong suspicion that anybody who thinks they're climbing a ladder is a bunch of fucking bullshit. There is no ladder. Everyone's a liar. Everyone who thinks that you work your way, you do the thing, and then you get up, and now you're up there. Oh, look, now you're Jay Leno. Fucking Jay Leno hid in a closet. You don't want to be that.
Brian, quick question about, because I'm not going to talk about the Heaton side because I don't know what Heaton's like Hollywood thing was.
No, this is
what
Maine.
Yours was.
Maine is the Andrew I think he's referring
to. Oh, yeah.
to.
Sorry. Andrew, Maine.
Okay, Maine.
Yeah.
Okay, so Maine. So, but Brian, question for you. Are you saying that you don't know if the clout of having had a TV show is what gave you the last 5 years? Or are you saying that, because here's what I'm saying. There would be no modern Rogue without hacking the system. Full stop. And I say that because had you not done hacking the system, the synapse in your brain, having not gone through that experience, would never given you the ability to go, oh, this is what was going wrong over there. Now let's do it the right way. And then you did it the right way, and modern Rogue was
you
born.
are correct that right now I'm fueled by a clarity of vision that comes from anger, from being able to tell everything that I don't want. And that makes it easy to figure out what I do want. However, might have done Vsauce, might have done. You know what? In a world where instead of partnering with Revision 3, later bought by Discovery, I might have become an earlier version of Chris Ramsey. I mean, there's any number of things that might have happened. But here's what I do know is that I am fueled by a heuristic, an algorithm that I know what I don't want to be, and I can only thank the last 10 years for teaching me those things, right?
Now,
But to me, they're a gift. Every terrible show, every boo, every hateful troll comment, they all shape me now having a heuristic where I instantly know what I don't want.
It's just that you would have made Queeby great, and you missed her.
okay,
Nailed
but
it.
regarding
Nailed it.
your ladder,
I swear to God, if you don't bury me with that fucking golden arm, it's over.
These golden
God
arms,
damn, this
motherfucker.
golden arm.
Say it!
quick sidetrack, then I want to come back. Quick sidetrack. Can we talk about the fact that can we just acknowledge the fact that Reno 911 was trending yesterday, not because there's a fucking Reno 911 reboot, but because of a viral video of bike cops in Florida. That's what made Reno 911
I saw
trend.
that.
So moving on from that, the latter thing we could have our discussion there, but what I do believe in is the domino effect, right? One domino falls, another one falls, and reaction is reaction. Action is reaction. So you did hacking the system. Hacking system was canceled after one season for a variety of just Hollywood business reasons, right? You tried things. 90% of all TV shows get canceled. That's the way the game is played. But that was at a time before YouTube, right? And then YouTube was coming up, and you kind of knew how to play that game. You knew how to drive an internet audience, and you said, well, let's try it again, but let's do it on a smaller scale first and see if the smaller scale builds. See if we can make a show not about the truth is it's about character. It's not about story, right? And the question you were asking me, Modern Rogue, can we make a show built around me and Jason? And if we can, no matter what we're doing, will they come for us? And that's why you start super small. The battery drop, the cutting the glass with oil. Like, I know these things because I was there for you. I was there for watching you guys play that game. And then you made Pruno and all bets are off. Justin has the benefit of having watched someone else who is close to him go through that experience. And so now Justin gets to walk in with a wealth of knowledge and maybe not be fully prepared because you never know what's going to come up, but you are more prepared to make this leap than anyone else in this room.
I appreciate that, and I do think that is true. My point about watching my friends go through it is that
they weren't having a good time.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into personal stuff, but
Yeah.
let me just say, in both cases, dark places for both of like my dearest friends, like on a level that I could only compare to drug rehabilitation, to like hitting bottom and finding clarity.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is the level for which I watched like my best friends and closest collaborators go through with, again, and Brian, you cannot know whether or not it was because hacking the system aired that Modern Rogue is what it is, but I sure as fuck watch a lot of people with decades-long television experience try to do YouTube or try to do Twitch, and they sure suck a fat ass at it, and they fucking go away really fast.
So
whereas
let
the
me
lessons that you've learned, I guess to me, it's a lot clearer. This was egg. This was or chicken.
Sure. Whichever.
Let me ask you this question: do you intend to do more, either more Raise the Dead or some variation thereof, more polished material, maybe a YouTube show like Modern Rogue that's politics, and where do you intend to? Because you don't do. We could argue whether or not you need the television platform. That's in the debate. But will you continue? Will you at least make the commitment to continue expanding what you already have? Even if you have to do it your way.
Yeah, of course.
Can I clarify something? I've not even been thinking in terms of Justin having his own TV show. I've only been thinking in terms of him showing up on panel discussion shows and just being everybody's favorite guy that shows up. Like I'm not saying you should be Geraldo Rivera, but I think you could. Hold on, there's nothing I could say that's not loaded. Think of whoever your favorite person on a panel show is, who always has the perfect hot takes. That should be you. You should be on those panel shows.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, look, if again, This is a situation where, to that, like, would I like to do it? Sure. If I got contacted by a television agent that was like, hey, we could do that, I'd be like, fucking A, let's go ahead with it. Now, I have not sought out a television agent. I have not sought out booking contacts for these kind of things. And again, the reason why, I will lay that at my own feet. I am not going to say that it is anything other than my own fear of rejection being overcome by my desire to say, it'll be better the more I get my own empire in line and the more I grow my own stuff, because the better that is when I get these opportunities. What I want them for is to be billboards for my own stuff, and my own stuff needs to be good enough so when the crowds show up, they're thrilled with what they found. And it's not like, oh, this is like a lower rent, shittier version than when he talks on CNN.
So you will go on CNN?
Oh, fuck!
yeah, you
I'd go on.
But here's
fucking
He's just not
anywhere.
gonna have to.
But
he's not gonna
here's
have
the
to
important
work.
question.
My hope for jury is so much wider than seeing. Like, I want Raise the Dead to be a TV show I can watch, and he's the executive producer of it.
But then
That's
Yes
Yeah.
to all of it. Yes. However, I mean, I do think that part of it is, for me, I guess I also haven't had a driving force, the same kind of drive that Brian, you had in Magic, because quite frankly,
in the world
Your
of Magic,
focus is not singular.
to simplify,
Well-
there is a payout schedule,
Yeah.
and the payout schedule of going and doing your Magic show was directly correlated with how many national TV appearances had you made, how many people.
But it also
that's an age
I
gone
would-
by.
wait, hold on. Let me just
wait.
finish my fucking God.
Wait, let Justin talk.
Okay, well,
I just want to say, I can do this until I'm 90.
yeah.
I can be political talky guy till I'm 90 in a way that Magic, you need to kind of get going in your 20s, 30s at your latest, unless you have a act that is like about being wizened, right? But in general, Magic on television, you need to begin young, and then hopefully carry that forward as you get older. For being the talking head guy on television, I should wait till I go fully gray. Then I'll be more palatable
Yeah.
to people on television, because that's what fucking
Well,
is. That's what that is.
Brian's big pushes though came when I did my big pushes, because every time we were expecting, he was just like, "Holy shit, we got a new baby coming in," and that's when he made these major moves in his career. It was like he took on this responsibility, and it was.
Go knock some ladies up.
I'm just saying.
You'll be amazed what you accomplish once you have no other choice.
I know. It's really interesting because you're really comfortable. And so how hard do you need to work when everything can keep on this directory? But I think Brian had these external pressures that, were you're really going to do this provision. And I think it's even subconscious. I don't think he even knew he was doing it. But there was always some kind of something going on dramatic and some big career advancement happening at the same time. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. Just be there when the baby gets born. And he was for all three.
Justin, what do you want to do? Like, if you like I can.
Yeah, you called us here together. You convened this meeting.
No,
this was all your idea. You said I want the whole episode to be about me.
Oh, yeah,
You said
hang
it.
on,
You called me beforehand, and you're like, "Listen, I'm gonna deny it on the air. Don't let me get away with it. But I want the whole episode to be about me." Also, I told Meryl Barr to call in.
We're heaping praise on Justin. We know what we want out of Justin, right? But at the same time, if Justin decides I only ever want to keep doing PX3 and maybe do some more Raise the Dead type shit, maybe write a book, and that's where he'd be happy, then I got a lot of Justin. I'm happy with it. I know so Justin, what do you want? Or is it that you don't know what you want and you're just riding the wave? And whatever appears, and as long as it's creatively just, Ryan's losing his shit. I'm gonna let Ryan.
I think you're chasing the wrong tail there. I don't care what Justin's real thing is, what his big thing is. What I know is he's one of the greatest players in the panel politics discussion game, and I don't see him on the biggest stages for that sport. That's all I'm saying.
Well, he's gold dust.
What?
He's gold dust? What does that mean?
I don't know what that means.
Jerry knows what that means.
Okay.
What
Gold dust.
there's a wrestler. There was a wrestler in WWE.
Jesus
There's a wrestler.
Christ.
Hang on. There's a
No,
wrestler
yeah,
in WWE.
explain this to
asked,
Justin.
You asked.
There was a wrestler in
Did I
WWE
ask?
for like
I'm sorry.
for
I
like
didn't
20
ask.
years. Hang on. There was a wrestler in WWE for like 20 years whose gimmick was he was like this what sexuality are you, dude? Character who was like never rose to like the upper echelon of the company. He never got the big title, but he was always a fan favorite and you always knew who he was. He was always around. He always had the ability to get to the top and then never did. And then he was
Sorry, just to be clear, this is a compliment to Justin you're giving right now?
Yes, I'm getting there.
Okay.
I'm getting there. Okay. So he never rose to the top, but it was because he was undervalued by WWE. Then the guy's real name is I think it's Dustin. No, Dustin was the father. Cody was the brother.
No. Dustin. It's Dustin.
It was Dustin. It's Dustin. Okay.
It's always
So
good when
Dustin
you're
then-
trying to describe somebody to someone and then they correct you. Sorry, just keep going. It's going great. We're gonna
And
go
then-
long.
The whole internet.
and then what happened was AEW, the competitor, formed, and one of the people who helped form it was Dustin Rhodes. And Dustin went over to AEW, huge fucking hit, right? One of the main players in AEW now. Like the reality is that if maybe it will be that Justin becomes a top player in new media and TV has to chase him now. Like I'm fine with like if TV ends up chasing Justin because Justin makes it big in new media, then fine. Let that be the way he gets in. Like as long as he is never being undervalued by the audience, that's I think is the most important.
No,
thing.
I like that. As long as you're not being undervalued by the audience. And that's definitely
I mean,
He's-
that is the path. That is the path for which
right.
I am more comfortable walking. But there are times in my life, including the first 57 minutes of this program, for which gives voice to the idea that I'm deluding myself, that is a coward's path, that the coward's path is focusing on just this, and what I should be doing is taking bigger swings and really marketing myself to bigger platforms, because that's the path. That's the real path. It's courageous to be out there. It's courageous to be risking this kind of stuff, and me focusing on my own stuff and growing my own stuff is small potatoes, and that's a life that will lead to shoulda, woulda, couldas.
I don't know. I think
I don't think you have regrets.
yeah, like you definitely are serving your community, which I think as long as I've known you has been an important part of your presence with the Diamond Club and your politics people. And so I feel like that emotional investment is also there, and you don't get that when you're on television. However, I'm saying that the pocket that you happen to have intersected and they're diehard fans of yours, which is amazing. But there's other people that need you too. So if you could sprinkle yourself about to collect those
and
folks.
again, it's like, part of the PX3 thing, and I want to repeat it, but like that was why I stopped doing it live. It's why I started focusing on it as a more, I realized podcasting is the medium for it. I can do other Twitch stuff and just be live on Twitch and connect with that audience in the language that it speaks. But I wanted PX3 to be something that was shareable on a level that I simply didn't think that it was before. And that was a conscious effort to say, and Raise the Dead too. Raise the Dead was an effort for people to recontextualize me, that I wasn't just a live entertainer, that I was somebody that could do this other thing. And then I wound up learning how to do the production side of it. But at the same time, it's like, would that time have been better spent, or could I definitely could have done both. Like to just say, find people that I see on television for a night, Google all of their agents, and then just fucking cold email all their agents and say, hey, I do a podcast. I'm great on television. Look at this reel I put together of me being engaging and funny, fucking represent me and book me, or sending cold emails to bookers. Yeah, I probably could have done that. And I have not. And like, there are elements for which I do think that my inability to pull the trigger on that is cowardice and fear.
I think that's an overstatement, but let me say this much. In my entire run with the Twit network, I got paid once. It was a $100 per diem when Leo announced that he was paying per diems, and then he forgot that he announced that and then never did it again. Every other time I appeared on This Week in Tech was for no pay. I loved it because I could tell I was good. And I got more excited when I saw that worthy adversaries were going to be up against me. Loved seeing Baratunde coming up. Loved seeing John C. Dvorak. Loved seeing all of these names, because at the end of the day, maybe I wouldn't win, but I loved playing that game, and I knew for a fact I was good at it. And where can I point to where the money came from? There was no money outside of that one time he paid me $100 for a per diem. Everything else was because I loved being good at that thing. And Justin, you are better talking about politics than I've ever been talking about the politics of tech. And I want to see you on the court. That is the alpha and the omega of my entire message. I just want to see you playing. And that doesn't mean that you have to have your own show. Doesn't mean you have to start your own league. Doesn't mean you need to create your own anything. But goddamn, if I don't love seeing you, I'd be afraid to take you on in any political arena. And I want to see you compete. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I guess in that realm, to me, I don't view those opportunities as me competing. I would view those opportunities as me creating billboards to bring people back to the thing I actually want them to listen to. Like, that would be my desire to go on there. And I think I could, like, there is a tremendous financial incentive for me to be doing that, because the more I'm a known quantity nationally, the more people buy that law of like fucking 0.5% of the people that see you will Google you, and will, 20% of that will find your podcast. You do it enough times, you harvest enough listeners. The Patreon is something that I found the right value proposition on converting listeners to patrons. I could do tremendously if I literally just had more of a thing. But to me, and this will be arrogance, but like, I mean, I know I'm fucking good. Like, I know how to. I know.
It ain't arrogance if you know you're right. Come on.
Right there, that's a big part of it.
I don't view it as like, I don't watch other people on them and be like, oh, I could do better than that. I know I could, but then again, like, I don't know, I'm arrogant about a lot of dumb shit that I probably couldn't be good at. In general, I know that would be the motivation to me. My motivation would be, I want to hijack that platform so I can bring more people to the thing that I really care about. And that's where I put my time and effort. And that's where I think, like, genuinely, when I get emails and feedback saying that PX3 is important or Raise the Dead's important because it has an absence of some of the poison that you see otherwise in other places, like, I don't particularly have a desire to go like be better than the people that peddle that poison, but I do have an interest in fucking bringing people to the thing that I control, because that is the one thing that I saw in all, not only with you and Andrew, but everything else. It's the lack of control that kills you. It's the lack of control and the giving over of control to other people, and be they segment producers or executive producers or network executives. that's where your soul dies. And that's
yes.
where all the joy
100%.
is stripped out.
And in the version that Meryl's talking about, where you are your own king of your own platform, you're right. I agree 100%. But to go on a panel show and to get
And
to
just
be
not- and to
the
not
wild
care,
card,
because you can't be
give two
owned if you
shits,
don't
always
care.
have the best dunks, be
Yeah.
everybody's
I
favorite.
will say,
Oh, it's so fucking good.
I will say that
It's so
this
good.
might. I will say this might be a case where Justin, what you just said, you keep saying it's arrogance. No, it's confidence. There's a fine line between arrogance and confidence. And you.
No, I know. Yeah, but you have to
what
call
you
it
do-
out, or else
Yeah.
people will think you're. If I just
Yeah,
say
yeah.
I'm confident, then they'll think I'm arrogant. If I say
What
I'm
you
arrogant, then they'll
do-
think I'm confident.
What you do, the reason it works is because it always reads as if you know that you know you're great. And let's take Wednesday's PX3 as a great example. You said, you got quiet for a second. You said, 1, should I do a show? 2, if I'm going to do a show, how am I going to tackle this? And you decided, you know what? I'm going to eschew my normal format. I'm going to do a half hour. I'm going to speak into the mic as honestly as I can, going, I've tried to read as best I can. And I know you were scared about killing your career, but you didn't. And you came out with a product that made it clear that you had a level of empathy, that the fact is people who go on those panels lack. So many of the people that go on those panels lack a certain level of empathy that makes that kind of thing work, right? There's something about being that callous, the guys that go on those programs. Justin is not that kind of person. So maybe it's that the fantasy of seeing him on those panels is stronger than what the reality would be.
Let me just throw this, and then we'll wrap it up. On this panel, we have 4 people.
I know, I'm crushing it.
I'm willing to admit that I will never be the guy who goes on Crossfire and destroys a decades-long institution. Bonnie will not be that person. Meryl will not be that person.
I mean, I will not
I'm
be that
offended.
person because Crossfire doesn't exist. But
Are you saying Justin is the Jon Stewart of Crossfire?
I'm saying he's better than Jon Stewart.
I agree.
Because a lot of people disagree with Jon Stewart.
Right.
Nobody disagrees with Justin Robert Young. I'm going to take us out on that motherfucker. You're out. We're done. Love you guys. Have a great weekend. Justin, we love you. Fucking crush the world.